that sweet sound.
And we are live in the well. It's Brian Pearcy and Andrew Hetes to try to go through player evaluations. How you doing today, Spicy One?
I'm doing stellar. Taking off the sunglasses. It was a soft ride. Starbucks got my order right. I'm ready to go.
I'm still waking up. I got my cold brew coffee going, and I'm ready to get a little bit of caffeine in me and get moving today.
Yeah, spiked cold brew, maybe. That's how we roll here Monday Night Lights.
Few reminders, as always, give us a voicemail call at 71475-WHOOP. Email the show at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow us and subscribe to us on Twitch. And we're available on pretty much all the major podcast, distribution methods. So I think we left off, a little bit of news here officially. The draft, we originally, I think, thought was going to be at the bowling alley, but it's going to be at our old stomping ground of the House of Shamrocks on July 15th. Sounds like the draft is going to begin at about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, House of Sham is a classic for hosting big sellies and having us out and having the boys out for the draft. So it's good to get back there sometimes, especially if our would-be, could-be, maybe not, on-again, off-again relationship with the bowling alley kind of went a little sour. They have some sort of dart tournament going on. Not a huge fan of darts, don't know anything about it, but apparently it's more important than Monday Night Lights, so I'm just glad the House of Shame can bring us back in to shame us with the shame sticks.
Yeah, from what I heard, like you said, a dart tournament they're finishing up. It also sounds like their bowling leagues might be wrapping up as well. I don't think they're necessarily anti-us, but they had some commitments already they had to keep with, and I guess there's nothing we can do about it.
No, they're anti-us. They're anti-Monday Night Lights. They want the wall, the building around Monday Night Lights, and leave us out in the cold.
Fair enough. So, like I said, with us being probably today, Tuesday, we don't have a whole lot of time left before the draft as far as podcast-wise. Wanted to try to get through some more players. If we don't make it through the full list, we're going to leave those players on the docket to kind of go through a couple per episode as we're going through the season. But I think we should get right to it. So the first guy on our board would be Mr. Dave Venandi.
Yeah, another lower end guy there, another 10th round pick likely. But he's got good size to him, has a good reach. From what I've seen, when he has played, he crashes the net a little bit more than actually some of the other 10th rounders, late 9th round guys. So that's good to see. Again, I've only seen about one season of him. I think it was season 2 for me when I played for the Americans. Didn't get a lot of peeks at him, but big body, hard to move in front of the net. Can at least get a stick on the puck sometimes. I love Charles, love the Mackeys, but and Jay Wright, but having a longer reach does help when you're in front of the net, and he seems to have a little bit slightly better hands than a couple of those guys.
Yeah, Venandi's one of those guys that maybe we've talked about him a couple podcasts ago that I kind of get mixed up with, the Dragos, the Venandis, all those guys. It's not because they don't participate. It's just I don't know them super well. I've never been on any of their teams. But decent guy. He's one of those guys every once in a while I'm like, I think he's making some progress. I see him coming. Other times he kind of just disappears from it. I think it was the actual outdoor all-star game. I thought he played really well. Kind of when you see someone benders versus benders, you kind of get a better idea of what they can do. Sometimes you turn it on a little bit more than what you would play outside your role, and saw a little bit of a nice game from him there.
Yeah, especially when you going against someone on a similar talent level as like you just said, Pearcy. You can kind of expand your role a little bit, and I agree with that. Being able to expand your role, being able to play against similar talent, and being able to exhibit your skill that you may not be able to do against some elite players because you're trying to catch them with that fleet of foot that you don't have is bettered for, I guess, your game, and then sometimes for the showcase for the folks.
Yeah, it sounds like we think he's both, somewhere in that 9-round range. I don't think he would slip to a 10, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. There's been a lot of guys that have been up and down in spring. Some guys with some injuries. I don't think he, like you said, I said 10th just because you never know. It could be like the first overall in the 10th round, second overall in the 10th round. But like you said, probably late 9th, maybe early 10 if he slips.
Yeah, next on our list would be Mr. Turnbull. I'm a big fan of him. He was a SEAL first year. I've always found him to be a super likable guy. I've heard there's always some of that parent hockey drama going on where, people, some people, everybody looks at their kid as they're special. Everybody loves their kid, thinks they're probably better than they are. And I don't know if it's Turnbull doing that, other players doing that, where exactly that drama goes. So I'm going to step outside of that drama. I think he's a likable guy. I think he's an underrated hockey player, actually. He's solid, defensive guy. Like I said, I like him.
Yeah, honestly. Well, you know what? First off, every kid's special. And I say that quote unquote because in reality, they're just like frizzed up little kids just running around, right? And if, you're going to be protective of your kid, doesn't matter who it is. But in regards to hockey, yeah, Turnbull, I don't know anything about like the drama he has. Maybe there's some drama. I think someone mentioned with like Pete or something, him earlier, they had kids in the same team, and then there was some other drama between him or something in the spring league a couple years back. I don't know anything about that. All I know is he's a champion because he's on our team in spring with the Spitfires, and I loved having him in front of me on that right side. He was a stud. Lots of big poke checks. Only thing I think that he's missing to complete his game that would push him up to maybe like up second or third overall draft pick, like not second or third overall, but second round or third overall, third round draft pick, or third. It would be that skating ability. He's not the fastest guy, but hockey smarts wise, aggressiveness, being able to use like the ice when he has a puck on his stick. He's really patient with it. If he gets it on his stick, he looks up and makes the good first pass. He's the overall package besides fleet of foot. So that's why he's probably going to go around Brawny, and some of the other guys are like strong 5th round picks. He's probably going to go around the 5th round. A lot of people equate them the same. I don't know about you.
I totally agree. He's right in that range, but I feel like a lot of times he's looked to be slightly lower than them, where I think that's why he's underrated, where, you hope to kind of slide him in as maybe your number 2 guy. I think would be good. Obviously, you don't want him as your number 1 defenseman, but as a number 2 guy, I feel like he can lead that second unit with someone a little bit lower, and they're going to lock it down. He's not the fastest guy, but people don't get around him.
Mm-hmm.
He's got decent hands. He can take a shot from the point. Not the hardest, but above average. He's just a solid guy that's going to help your team. He's one of those unsung heroes, I think, is a good way to put it.
Oh, yeah, that's perfect. He's an unsung hero. He's going to be that the B-plus player that's not going to out-talent that A-level guy, but it's going to, when he's playing that full beast mode, he's going to put Theo Fleury to shame, right?
Right. Moving on, as we try to go through these guys, would be another one, I think, of everybody's favorite, Mr. Dougie Fresh.
Dougie, what is going on with Dougie? I can tell you that Dougie is another champion from spring, another Spitfire, and another one of those guys that I love having in front of me playing D. He's maybe not as aggressive, a little bit cerebral about his game, I guess you could say. He picks his points, whether he wants to chip in at the blue line and try to keep the puck in on the boards, or if he wants to pinch maybe in his own zone a little bit early. But sometimes he'll sometimes let those all-star guys walk in, get to the top of the circles before he steps up, and he also knows who he's playing with, which is really nice. So Dougie may not be, again, Dougie's gonna be another guy in the middle rounds probably. Thinking maybe 6, 7. Probably like 7th round, maybe early 7th. But he can skate with the puck. He's got some speed. He's not afraid to actually stick handle with the puck either. Doesn't have the hardest shot, obviously. I think the last goal I remember Dougie scoring was that reading rainbow goal from like the blue line 2 years ago, where he just shot it. It went like straight up in the air and over everybody into the net. It was crazy, but. Dougie's a great guy. Better GM, even a better GM. So I don't think you can go wrong if you get Dougie in like the 7th round, maybe late 6th. But if you can get him later,
I kind of have him pegged
better.
as that 6th round, maybe early 7th. I think some other things about him. He pumps the strong songs in the locker room.
Yeah, he does.
At least in Seal's first year, he was famous for his Outcast jams, where I was always a big fan of that. He has his Pandora going, so it gives you that nice mix of stuff going. Like you said, not the greatest shot, but a lot of times it doesn't matter. I think he's pretty smart hockey player growing up playing it. He'll take the puck. He can go through it. He's got good cardio, triathlete going on. He's also a lot more snarky than people give him credit for. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Dougie, nicest guy in the world." But if you watch him, he throws out those jabs left and right. Plus, he also likes to tragically hip, which is another minus in my book. They got
that's
group,
a minus.
R.I.P. lead singer of Tragically Hip. I feel bad about that and all.
Rip City.
But I mean, they got 2 good songs ever. Most overrated band in Canadian history. They didn't even make my Canadian top 10 list.
Wow, that is it. Now, see, that's the hottest take we'll probably get this morning is they won't even make your top 10 list. Okay, all right. I mean, there's a lot of really good Canadian bands. I mean,
we got some Neil Young. We got some Bare Naked Ladies, Our Lady Peace. We got Drake, Justin Bieber, Celine Dion, just to name a few.
Half those aren't even bands. Those are just artists, Canadian artists.
Okay, music. Top 10 music.
Top 10 music. And none of, 4 of those I wouldn't even, Celine Dion, I'm sorry. But, my heart will not go on. I will not sing anymore about Celine Dion. She's not in my top 10.
I don't have my list in front of me. I hope
you're leaving
a
lot of alternative and a lot of rock bands off of there, which I'm a big fan of. So
I'm sorry that Nickelback, I know they're probably one of your favorites, did not make my list. But just because they make yours, I'm not going to judge.
Look, Ryan Reynolds thinks that Nickelback should not be bad. So why do you think Nickelback is bad?
Ryan Reynolds, handsome man and all, but he's not a very likable guy. He's got that
That's
Canadian Doug stuff.
Ridiculous take. Everyone loves Ryan Reynolds. He's affable. He's beautiful. He's charismatic. He always has the right joke at the right time. Quick quips. Beautiful wife. He has a kid now, right? Doesn't he? I don't know. Anyways, point being, he has lots of points, and he made it tons of points in the Deadpool movie. Why Nickelback isn't that bad? I personally dislike Nickelback because of that stupid photograph meme that was going around the internet for a year ago, and I couldn't get off my Facebook feed. So I jumped on the Nickelback hate train, but we're getting sidetracked. And the last thing I want to bring about Dougie Fresh, because after us getting sidetracked, is Dougie Fresh brings a lot of X factors between the music. You said him throwing shade, just dragging people without them knowing it, like the Canadian nice shade, oh you suck there, I'm sorry guy. That's just great. He brings so many. He's a triathlete, so he always has a great cardio. You never know if he's gonna come off of a weekend where he's biked 27 miles and killed a moose and drag back to his house or what. It's great, honestly. Dougie Fresh, 5 or 6 different types of X factors. Cerebral player, might not dig out the puck in the corner if the guy's gonna razzle dazzle you, or may not be able to. I don't know. May not be able to body somebody in front of the net and get your goalie a clear vision on the puck, but he's Matthew Schneider from I don't know. He's an off-brand Matthew Schneider. I kind of like that from in the late rounds.
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. My last thing with Doug is he is a little bit soft, I think, in the defensive end. I'd like to see him toughen up there with his Canadian roots, maybe get him a little bit more maple syrup or something
maple syrup,
that.
Yeah, chop some more lumber.
I think he is a Molson fan, which I'm fine with. Labatt Molson, I'm good with both of those babies, so it's all good. But I think we're kind of in this middle of these fan favorites right now as Eric Lapoudre is next on our list. Big Bear.
Ooh, Big Bear. Yeah, I love me some Lapoudre. Again, he's another guy I only got, one peek at my first season in Monday Night Lights a little while back. He's going to be another guy. It's going to be another kind of 1B defenseman where it'd be better served if he's your second best drafted defenseman, but you can get by if you have a him and Turnbull, so maybe you don't have a number one bona fide defenseman like Starr. Ben is forced to play defense, and Ben's your number one defenseman. Maybe you don't have a bona fide quote unquote offensive all around defenseman, but both him and another middle high middle pairing defenseman could solidify your defensive pairing. And I'd say he's almost the opposite of Dougie Fresh, where I don't think Eric's gonna make that ESPN top 10 play where he he'll drag 2 people with him, and then he'll backhand sauce to I don't know, yourself that's screaming back post from the point right on the power play, but he brings a steadiness to the defensive, whatever defense he's playing at, defensive core. You can be playing with someone that's not really good or someone that is really good, but he's that stay-home defenseman that's going to clear out the front of your net. He's a big boy, so it's not like you're going to be able to gain a body position on him. And he can shoot the puck from the point if he wants to. But so I guess overall, he's going to go in the middle rounds, like I said. I think. Maybe, 5'6", ballparking.
Yeah, I love Eric as a player. He's got the poke check out of nowhere. He's great on that. He's got a mean streak on him, sometimes bodying guys up. And he's really good at outlet passes as well, where, he can get that actual offense moving by hitting that guy up the middle or on the side for that breakout. And every once in a while, he'll try to take it coast to coast, and he'll shock you of how he does it and how good he does it. He's almost like a faster version of Adam Sawokis sometimes there. It's kind of weird. The one thing, I guess, is sometimes Eric's cardio isn't the best, where, it's not McCracken-like, but he takes it up a coast to coast. He's going to be tired. We're all going to be tired. It might take him 2 shifts to get back, but he'll get it back there. I also love it when his glasses fog up as well out there. After he's had a good hard shift or two. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's so cute. Ooh, we know what turns on Pearcy here in the well.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie.
Opens up the closet behind me, and all you see is like an entire closet full of different people's glasses over the years he's taken.
Only Eric's glasses. Only Eric's glasses.
That is another thing that that's a bit to his character I like is he rocks the glasses still on the ice. A lot of people are like, no, I gotta wear contacts because my glasses will fog up, or I can't wear like the sports goggles. Eric gives no cares. He's out there hacking, slashing. He's gonna take the puck away from you. Like you said, he'll start the first outlet pass. Nothing too fancy. If he does take it up the ice, it's not like he's going to beat 3 or 4 people with toe drags and whatever else. So just maybe make like a nice little chip off the boards and beat you, or he'll just skate kind of around you and cut towards the middle. But overall, as a defenseman, he's opposite kind of Dougie in the sense that he's not cerebral. He's more of a stay-at-home defenseman that's going to really play effectively defense. I mean, maybe not start that offense all the time, but he's there. And then again, I think that the Ducks may have drafted him. What was last year? You drafted him at 4? I think they drafted him at 4 last year.
Eric?
Yeah.
No, he was a Nordique last year.
Nordique last year. Was it 2 years ago that he was drafting the Ducks? I don't remember. That's what I get for being Djibouti for a year. Yeah, anyways,
he might have had a career as a Nordique as I'm probably Eric's number 2 fan, only behind Jeremy Drager.
Yeah, true.
So,
because you see him a lot in the K-Falx though. That's why.
Yeah, so we're big fans of him. He's a super nice guy as well. He loves beer. He's a big-time reviewer on Google Maps. I think he's got the Ambassador level 6 or level 7. Every once in a while, I'll just go on there and I'll look at there, and there's an Eric Lapoudre just out of the blue review I'm seeing on Google Maps. So
I love this tree. It's a beautiful red thrush, and it hosts many types of bird species in Michigan. Like, is that what he does? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, like B&R Sports at Troy Arena, stuff like that he gives reviews to. Joe Cools, he's very good about that stuff. Very helpful reviews. You don't make it. You don't get that level without people appreciating those views.
Yeah, he's pretty laced up. Then I mean, if he's got levels, he's up to 7. That's huge.
Oh. And I'd like to say hi, one of our favorite subjects with the Monday Night Light podcast. It looks like Chad is possibly watching us with he's saying that the Ducks never drafted him, which I agree with on that point. But moving on, another fan favorite, Gio Orlandi.
Oh, the Italian stallion. Do you want to take it away with Italian stallion first? I kind of did the last 2 to start. Yeah, I'll let you go. You rock it out.
Gio, I mean, last year was kind of a breakout season for him. I think we've all known he's a good player, but he lost a little bit of weight. He started biking. I think Wednesday or no, whatever day we had our last drop in, it would have been Tuesday. He said that he did like 50 miles or 40 miles on the bike.
What?
So he's going hard on that. That helps that cardio out.
Him and Dougie out there in the Canadian woods then, huh?
Yeah, Gio, he always had a shot before, but I think he got a little bit better placing it. There'd be a lot of times where he'd come through and he'd just cross the blue line, he'd just rip it, and he was going wide left or right. And it was kind of like, oh, that's Gio. You know how to defend him. But last year he started putting those in. He was a high scorer for the North Stars. So, I kind of expect that breakout season to continue those skill levels. I don't expect a drop off from him, and I can't wait to see where he lands.
Another thing to mention about Gio is that besides being Italian stallion, he brings the style of Italy to our league. Nice little rustic thing going on. He's always got mom's spaghetti ready in the back if you're looking for a quick bite. No, jokes aside. Gio, he's got hands. He can shoot. He can score. He's drafted generally as a goal scorer. I guess his past afflictions of people thinking he kind of floats sometimes, like once every couple games or once every 2 or 3 games, he'll have 2 or 3 good games and lay an egg. It's kind of gone by the wayside after last year's breakout season. So I don't see him going any lower than like the 3rd round. He's one of those guys where he's improved his game. He plays 2 ways. When he wants to grind in the corners, he can. When he wants to set up other people, he can. When he wants to score, he can. He's one of those guys that will help out your team and hopefully help your team to a long, deep playoff run.
Yes, speed kills. It's great to have on the team. He's got that. I think with that biking, you've seen the difference in his legs, where he just got that powerful first couple strides, glides. You can kind of be all over the ice. So I think we're kind of in agreement on him.
Here's my last question. What do you think he's going to wear to the draft party? Suit, no suit, and then second question: if he does wear the suit, Italian loafers, or is he going with the dress shoe like a nice Oxford? Sockless, no sockless.
3-piece suit for sure.
3-piece suit. Okay,
yeah.
We have it. What are the odds on that? Can we get odds on that, Brennan? If you're listening to this, I want you to bring the odds to us. What, this upcoming week? Next week? Yeah.
He's gonna obviously have a nice pair of sunglasses rocking with those.
Of course.
The white shirt going.
Of course.
Classic, no tie though.
Yeah. No, unbuttoned. The top button unbuttoned, of course.
I'm seeing more of like a navy blue suit with some nice brown loafers kicking, with probably no socks.
No socks. Okay. See. That's fair. You know what? Honestly, I give it good odds. If he strolls in with that look, with like the all navy and the white and the brown and like the brown loafers, yeah, oh yeah, definitely. That's like I'd say it's maybe like 2 to 1 odds. I'm not the odds maker though. That's something you have to talk with Brennan.
I also, if you want to go long odds that I feel like could work for him, I feel like Gio could pull off the ship captain look.
Ship captain.
Yacht rock?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was about to bring that up. I was about to say, so 2 to 1 odds on the suit, but I actually think he's gonna rock the either like the boat shoes or maybe the loafers, but he's gonna be more of a Bahama Mama look, or like a Joe Bahama, where it's like he's got like not the Hawaiian shirt, but like the Italian like the polo, like the unbuttoned up button polo, where it has like floral patterns. I've seen him do it once before. Navy shorts, maybe like a nice leather belt. Anyways, point being, he is our Henrik Lundqvist of the league. Always dresses on point. And sorry, we'll move on.
No matter what, he's gonna look good. Let's face facts.
Yeah, that's true.
Our next guy, like I said, we're in this fan favorite type thing, would be Hal Doherty.
Woo! I love me some Hal. So Hal may post some random crap on Monday, on Slack. Like everybody will be like, yeah. So how about that sports ball last night? And Hal will be like, hey guys, here's an article from USA Today, and it'll be like how like trout are no longer in Michigan, or being invaded by like Asian carp or something. And I'll be like, damn it, I didn't know I wanted this, but I guess I do. So then I click on it and I just start reading it. So I mean, Hal's always involved in Slack.
In that aspect of Slack, Hal reminds me of my dad. I'll go over to my parents' house, and my dad just like, hey, come look at this. Some random thing I have no idea about. Like, look at this article. Look at this. Look at that. That's exactly what Hal does on Slack. So that side of thing reminds me there. As far as Hal's recently got some new skates, so hopefully we'll see some difference in his speed. Another thing, Hal's a pretty big body, and his skills might not be the best, but when he gets in front of that net, he can be a pain in the ass to move, and his hands are not horrible where he can grab those rebounds and put them in. So as far as a 10th rounder goes, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, so for Hal's likely going to be a 10th rounder. Let's get that out of the way. But besides likely being a 10th rounder, I mean, in the 3 facets of the game, he's got a big Slack game, always on Slack. Whether it's news articles or join part of the discussion, so that's great. Always having a beer after the game, always jovial, always has a good head on his shoulders. I mean, like he's never going to go after and like, oh, our team lost and pout and run away. He's always going to have a beer after the game. And then last, like you said, of the 10th rounders, if Venade gets drafted, like for example, like first overall in 10th or like late in the 9th, Hal's going to be kind of, I feel like, kind of right behind Venade or 2 spots behind Venade, in the sense that Hal's also kind of a bigger body, tall. He also kind of does like what Venade does, but with slightly a little bit less hands. But at the same time, also, by that facet, I say again, he's scored some goals recently. Even in the scrimmage we just did, when he was in front of the net with Dylan, he had some time, some space. he got control of the puck, did the 180 pirouette, the old Pavel Bure in front of the net, and then just like slid home far side, post skis in. So it's not that he can't score, not that some of the 10th rounders can't score. I just feel that he scores maybe a little bit more than some of the 10th rounders that you'd get in the 10th in rounds. So draft value wise, he's not bad to have.
And
like
as
honestly,
someone who's never been on his team, another thing I've heard about him is sometimes he'll bring his own beer, like custom beers that he'll pass out, and he might bring a flask. So those are also big positives for that 10th round man, bringing in some booze, bringing in some alcohol, some high-class beer. Who doesn't love that?
That's true. Honestly, I love me some Mackies, but like if we're competing for like best 10th rounder, I don't know how might be my main bet. Like I may be like Hal and Mackie and Charles are like neck and neck, like 1-2 for like my favorite 10th rounder. Like they're like a bee's dick apart.
I don't know how to judge that, but I guess I'll take your word on that. But
I'm not a beekeeper.
Let's move on to our next.
Fun fact: Morgan Freeman is though. Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Next guy on the list would be Mr. Jack Serta. So I think we all know him. He's got speed. He's fast. Well, speed and fast, I guess, are the same thing. So
two different things, right? Because you have acceleration and then you have like overall top speed. So someone like Dave P. If we're gonna go like just like pure speed wise, Dave P. does have speed and he has a quick acceleration. McCracken, 0 acceleration. But if you wanted to throw out speed and you're doing like a single lap around the rink, he probably has a decent amount of speed between that blue line to blue line if he's doing a lap around the rink, right? So they're two different things. But what you're saying, Jack Serta, yes, Jack has both.
He has both. Scores a decent amount of goals. I think he's a pretty good defensive guy at center as well. Just a smart player, very athletic guy. First rounder.
Yeah, there's not much else to say about Mr. Serta. I personally feel, now it's just me, some of the people in the league may disagree. Mr. Serta is, I would draft him 4th overall. If I think the Whalers are getting kind of they have to draft somebody right in the first round, and since he's a co-GM with Trent, so for me, where he is in the round because he's stuck with the Whalers, it's fine because he's a first rounder. But if I had to draft somebody, I would draft him right after Sugar because as a two-way, he like Pete, he's a two-way player. But to me, Serta just has more tools and more weapons in his bag than Pete does, for example. And I feel he's more dangerous than Fenway's on the puck. And that's coming from me as a defenseman when I play like schmuck around out on the ice with you guys, as well as a goalie. So when like Serta's on a breakaway, I know Serta can go forehand, backhand for either shot. He can deke sometimes, and his shot may not be like as hard as Pete's or as hard as some other people in the league, but he's really accurate with it. And as opposed to Pete, for example, or as opposed to Sugar sometimes, he is more elusive with his shot and with his stick skills in front of the net. Whereas they may kind of ram and jam and they get down close and try to deke. When you come out and cut down the angle, he wouldn't do that like on a breakaway. He'll come and force you to try to make that first move. So I don't know. I like Serta. I'm high on Serta. Again, another spring champion of the Spitfires. So I can't really maybe my bias speaking, but I don't know. I like me some Serta.
Yeah, going to the Whalers. I think I'm in the minority here, but I actually like Trent better as a player than Serta. Trent, he scores goals. If you put him on offense, defense, he's a pain in the butt. I think he's a more well-rounded player overall and can do kind of everything.
I disagree. Don't get me wrong, I like Trent, and Trent probably is arguably one of the like top 3, top 2, or probably arguably the top 2 defensemen in the league, depending on who you talk to. The only thing with Trent is he's got speed sometimes. So actually that's a great example. Trent has speed, but he doesn't have acceleration. So like once he gets going and when he's carrying the puck, he'll carry it from end to end. He has that ability, but he's not gonna start stop from like the blue line to the red line in a foot race and beat Dave P to the puck or beat someone to the boards to the puck. And that's the only knock on Trent.
They're different. They're different players.
Oh yeah, don't be wrong.
Trent's a big body guy who can kind of just like keep you to the out or keep you pushed and guys go outside, go around you, and then just kind of barrel into the net and score. Serta's obviously more of a speed type player that relies on that. So they're different players. So it's kind of a
they're different players.
What you
also.
prefer and how you're building your team.
And Trent also is, he can play two positions, right? Like you just said. You view him as a forward. I view him as a defenseman because I'm used to playing on the Worms with him as a defenseman partner, right? And then sometimes we'd push him up on the Worms up to forward. So Trent has those capabilities where he can play either position, whereas I don't think Serta, you're ever going to put Serta in defensive position. You're not going to be like, you know what, Serta, can you go play right defense? We're shorthand on a power play. We have Paul Proctor in the box. We have Troy in the box. We've got, who's another defenseman? We have Adam Sukas in the box. So we have two defensemen left. Pearcy's been out for a minute, 30 seconds. And 2 minutes before that, so Pearcy's dying. He needs a change. Can you go play defense? I don't think he's going to do that.
He did play defense last Tuesday for about half a period, and obviously just his skill level of being on the ice, he kind of
he
was okay, but he was all over the ice, kind of not playing positionally how you should. If he wanted to, I'm sure he could learn the position and be fine, but I think it would take a little bit of work on his side to be. But he probably would be a first, second rounder, third rounder, somewhere in there once he kind of put his mind to it, just because he's that kind of athlete.
Yeah, yes, he's an athlete. He's in shape. He's actually probably one of the best in shape guys in the league. You know what you're gonna get with Serta, and I think more now than ever he's been scoring goals more so than even the second season of Monday Night Lights that I was a part of and saw. So for me, you may view Trent maybe a little bit better or higher. You may be higher on Trent than you are with Serta. For me, I'm more higher on Serta than Trent because I like Trent, but I would put Trent as a defenseman. So we're getting sidetracked though. Anyway, Serta, great overall player. For talking shell stats, guys in the 90s. Let's move on.
Next guy on our list would be I think this guy's underrated, even though he's a pretty highly rated player. Mr. James Rubel.
So, did Rubel? I don't know. Did Rubel play last winter? Because I wasn't here.
I
just know him from the spring.
Rubel ended up kind of joining halfway through the league.
Okay.
Had a guy, baby, kind of had to get out of the league. Rubel was doing our reffing, and then he jumped in and replaced him. He's a hell of a defensive player. He'll be able to rush it. I think if you had to, you could play him at forward as well. I just know every time he's back there, and I'm on a team, it seems like we never score on his line, and it's a big pain in the ass.
So I kind of mentioned earlier, I feel like Dougie is like the off-brand Matthew Schneider. Like he's like the poor man's Matthew Schneider, where he's very cerebral about his game. He's maybe not be elite in the elite defensive talent in the defensive zone, but like he can throw an offense, etc. I feel Rubel is like not the off-brand Matthew Schneider. I feel like Rubel is Monday Night Lights Matthew Schneider. Like he may not grind out every single puck in the corner, but defensively he's always going to force whoever the shooter coming down wide outside the dots, right? Make it easy for your goalies. He's always checking people in front. Oh, stick checking. He's not going to actually body check someone because he's a ref, right? But he's always stick checking or tying up a guy in front of the net. So defensively, responsibility-wise, he's always responsible. And then he has that entire offensive side of the game to him, where he can carry the puck from your own red line to the other team's red line. Now, do I think he is number 1, 2, maybe number 3 defenseman in the league? No, I wouldn't put him in that argument, but I think he's top 5. I think he could be the 4th best or 5th best defenseman in the league, depending on who you talk to, right? So, he's kind of in that spot where we mentioned earlier, where it's going to be, you don't want to draft him too high because you don't want to cannibalize your team's scoring, but you don't want to draft him I guess you want to draft him too low, right? Because you always want to draft everybody too low. But is he going to slide that low? Right? Is he gonna slide? Are you gonna miss him on the back with your snake pick? So like, if you're someone that gets like back-to-back picks, I feel like a team like that might have a better avenue to pick him up because they can be like, oh, I need this, I need to address scoring, I need to address defense, I need to address defense and scoring. Whereas someone that's like in the middle, like a North Stars team or like a SEALs team where you have to draft like one guy, and then you have a couple picks, and then you have to wait, and then you draft another guy, then you have to wait a couple picks, and you draft the third guy, etc. It's gonna be a little harder because I don't know where he slides to because he's like that
tough
third,
when
fourth.
you like look at him compared to Star.
Mm-hmm.
Both good players. Last year, I don't think Star put up really any goals, maybe 1 or 2. Wasn't scoring there, but I think he was good passer, helps set stuff up, helps get the offensive going. Rubel, I think, does put up a little bit more goals when it comes to there. So, it's tough to say in those situations. I feel like consensus Star is probably rated higher, but I think you could make an argument for what they produce, because I think we've talked about before, in a league like ours, points are really what matters. So if you can get more points in offensive production out of a guy, do you take them over the guy that's not getting there, even if one guy might be a better player or not?
Yeah, that's I guess the argument, right? Is point production, and I guess the only knock you could give on Rubel, coming to think of it now. I mean, I played as his defensive partner. I played with him in front and so many skates. I played him in front of me as well when I'm playing that, tending that twine. His only knock is that occasionally, this isn't all the time. So like maybe like Proctor or Matt Taylor, someone comes down, he can get kind of, I don't want to say caught occasionally, but like he can get kind of like, because he's trying to do so much and he's trying to, he's generally you're gonna be your first pairing defenseman, right? He's gonna be like your 1D, right? And then your 1A, or not your whatever your first pairing defenseman on your first defensive line. I guess if that makes sense. So as like your bona fide number one, he's always going to generally be paired with someone that have like less skill. So if he's trying to carry someone that's like 8th, 9th round, and then you get paired up against like the other team's top line, and they have a lot of guys really quick, or like it's one of those skates we did like 2 weeks ago where it's tons of talent. I have seen him get beat a couple times. I mean, kind of get walked, but that's because he doesn't have the extra D man there, aka myself or someone else that's like has good wheels, can be that safety valve, or can play off of him, because if he's trying to pinch in, keep the puck in, and then he has to skate back another 60 feet back to the blue line and hook somebody a stick and catch him and get the puck back, and then go back up the ice again, and then he has to come back a second time. It's just a lot of work for one guy. So my only knock on him is sometimes he can get, I guess, maybe beat to the corners or beat around like on the boards against really, really elite people. But I've only seen that once or twice, and again, that's just a drop in. So I mean, that may just be a one-time thing.
It'll also be, I think, an interesting strategy going into this draft is, I think we have gotten more defensive players this year. And do you want to take a guy like a Star or a Rubel? And if you do, I feel like you're going to have to wait a little bit longer to take some more defensive guys, because you're going to have to make up that offensive area that you missed out on. Or do you wait till more that mid-round area and maybe kind of go a couple in a row and try to get like a Turnbull and like maybe like two guys in that area that we've kind of been talking about, like a Lepoudre and a Turnbull, and then try to also get like, say, like a me and a Brennan, and then you probably have a pretty solid
That's
core.
A really good dude, if I had that defense in front of me, man, I'd have like a 1.5 goals a game average. I'd be unstoppable.
But I guess the thought is if you wait till kind of those mid at like, you go like, say for me, like I think Troy was talking like an 8th rounder, like Joey is a 7th. Like if you kind of go 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you essentially, or maybe even you could probably get a last guy a 9th type thing. Mm-hmm. You have your one bender offensive guy, then you have those forwards, or like all forwards in those first 4 or 5 rounds. Kind of try to get that offensive powerhouse going, and still have that solid mid-round defenseman that maybe aren't the most flashy guys going to score a ton, but are still going to keep those goals low and kind of do what you need to do.
Another thing to keep in mind that you just brought up well is is your team makeup, right? So we talk about how good a player is or player profile. No, go ahead. Yeah, the fans need to know on Twitch. Answer the fans. Sorry.
I just love Ty's. Ty's in the house right now.
Woo! Give a shout out to Ty.
He's chatting.
Love it.
He joined. He subscribed to YouTube the other day. I mean, all of a sudden he's this week's MVP when it comes to social media.
Yeah, honestly, MVP. Shout out to Ty. Actually, Ty, I want to ask you this. Did you see that Liverpool, our boys in red, have started? That's right, fans at home. I'm a Liverpool fan, and if you don't like it,
I'm a Liverpool guy.
Oh, fantastic! We have a lot of it. You'll never walk alone in this house, which is in the well. So that's perfect. We're gonna paint this town red. Anyways, if you don't like it in the league, you can suck it up. Anyways, point being, did you see, Ty, that we started the lactic acid test, where they do like a 26 mile, they do like a marathon type of run or something like that, and they test like their lactic acid level. So pretty much what it means is they've started their training, their football fall season training. So I watched a little bit of that, saw that in the Snap this morning. I was like, oh, you go, Milner, 35-year-old, just running out there, crushing it, beating young men like Joe Gomez to the far corners. Anyways, we're getting distracted. That's soccer, aka football. All right, so we'll leave that to the side. I was talking about his team makeup before I got distracted about footy. Team makeup does play a factor in how you're going to draft your team, what round you're going to draft these players at. And I know we're doing player profiles, but another thing to keep in mind, I was going to mention, is that a team could have multiple picks. So, like, in the middle rounds, maybe you don't have that first overall guy, right? Or maybe you don't have a 10th rounder. And doing something you just mentioned is very viable. So, like, if you move that 10th round pick, maybe you don't draft first overall, but then you have like 2 fifths or something, or maybe you have like a 4th and like an extra 7th. Like that makes you really flexible in the defensive sense, because then you can do exactly what you said, Pearcy, where you can have 4 solid defensemen that no one's going to be below like the 8th round, and then in that like your worst offensive players like the 9th round, and what you get like maybe early in the 9th round you get Drags, or you get like who else besides maybe early 9th round Dragovich, or maybe you get like Venade or something. Like, that's not a bad player to have. It's like your last quote unquote bad player on your team that you plug in on the second line wing, and then you put like your second center there, like that.
If you could get like a Justin Wright in that 10th, and then kind of have those other guys we were talking about there, where Justin's been getting towards the net, putting them home. All of a sudden your team's looking pretty good in those situations.
Yeah, that's a great example too. Yeah. So I mean, you have options definitely. I think that's not a bad strategy. But it all comes down to team makeup. Sorry. Who's the player profile we're on? I already forgot, to be honest.
We're gonna move along. We were talking about Rubo for.
Rubo.
We got off on these tangents. But the next guy, I think there's a lot of different opinions on this guy of where he gets drafted, when to take him. McShannock.
Radio silence there for a second. So here's the thing. Like, people have been like, well, McShannock should be a forward because McShannock isn't defensively responsible sometimes, and he'll just send like an errant puck. Like, McShannock he's like the one of the 2 towers. Back when like I made that news article and did like the 2 tower meme, like him and Trent could literally stick their sticks out in their wingspan and cover the entire blue line. So people play him at forward, and and people like to let McShannock go forward so he can kind of use his reach, use his skating ability to keep the puck away from opponents and gain possession, because that's one thing he's really good at. He's really good at carrying the puck into the opposing team's end, like into their zone from the neutral zone. Not a lot of players in the league, you can say that can carry the puck from maybe your top of your defensive zone or the neutral zone into the opposing team's zone, whether you're in transition or not in transition. But he does that. So if the puck's bumbling around in like the middle, a lot of people are playing hack and whack, and no one can chip the puck deep, he's one of those guys that'll just pick up the puck and he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna take it into the opposing team's zone, bring it down below the red line, or bring it down around the hash marks. Now, the thing about McShannock, which I've noticed sitting back in the crease, is once he does enter the zone and he gets back behind, down below the hash marks, he's kind of working around the net, he has a tendency to hold on to the puck a little bit too long as a forward, which I like to see him maybe move it, or maybe try to like push, like put more shots on net, or something along those lines more so. But that's his forward mentality, I guess. For me, I'd rather play him on defense. And
it's
as
tough.
a result,
he's a hard one to judge, because I do think he needs to pass the puck more. He's got a nice slap shot, but I think he's too in love with that slap shot, where he crosses center ice and he could be dropping that bomb any time. But at the same time, you also, like, when I'm playing defense and he's coming at me, it's like I know if I can just get close to the blue line and kind of make sure that I have an opening to have that goalie see that lane, I want my goalie should stop that from where it is overall there. And it's kind of one of those things. Okay, you're coming out an odd man rush. Now you're going to take that slap shot. My goalie's going to grab it, cover, or control it to get us back going the other way. And I'm fine with that. And you kind of want a player where you got to draft him to have more movement with the puck, pass it around, help set stuff up for others, where I think a lot of people think he's that good second line center, because you throw him with 2 weaker guys, let him try to produce that offense by himself, because he's not moving the puck around that much anyways. Mm-hmm. It kind of puts him where he wants to, how he likes to play, and doesn't hurt the rest of your team.
That's fair. So, I mean, I guess where he goes in the draft, I couldn't give you an answer, honestly. As a defenseman, I feel he'd be a steal, right? Like, if you can get him a little bit lower, I mean, I don't think he's going to go as low as, like, 7th. I don't think he's going to low as... I don't think he's going to... Whoa. Okay. I don't think he's going to low as 7th, and he's not going to go as high as 3rd. So that puts him between 4 and 6. Is he going to go as low as 6th? I don't think... I mean, there's a slight possibility he could go early 6th. There's also a possibility he could go, like, late 4th. So, to me, like, I like McShannock, but I feel like people are higher on him as a forward. I prefer putting him back on defense, because there's not a lot of guys in the league, again, that are as tall as he is, that can shoot the puck from the point. And, like, to your point, what you brought up earlier, is his main thing is when he brings a puck in, he's playing, and he possesses the puck, and he controls the puck in the other team's zone and gets it deep. If he's not doing that, or if he's coming over the blue line when he's possessing the puck and he's headmanning it, he just sometimes, like you said, he'll just wind up and clap it, and that generally doesn't beat. It's not going to generally beat me or Flo or maybe some of the better goalies in the league. Maybe it could catch us off guard, right? But most goalies in the league, they're going to stop that shot. Now, if someone like Shawnee, is wheeling and dealing behind my net, and I'm going post to post like 2 or 3 times, and then they throw it back out to the point, and then he just shoots it from the point, and there's bodies in front, chaos. That's when that type of slap shot is gonna go in, because I've been moving. I have to track the puck. I got to read through a screen, and then I have this 80-mile-an-hour clapper coming from the blue line. So to me, I don't know. I like him better as a defenseman. But that's just me. I know some GMs in the league, mainly Troy, would probably laugh at me right now. Like, oh, Hetes, you don't know what you're talking about? That's not true. I'm like, okay, all right, Troy. But I know Troy likes him as a forward. I know there's another GM that likes him at forward as well. We'll see where he goes. But I feel like he's one of those players that could play either position again. But I feel like he's better as a defenseman. You're polarized. You may feel he's better at forward. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, I like that type of player, though, that has that flexibility to go either way. It's the same thing with a Chris Taylor. It's the same thing with a Trent. You can draft him as either position, but then as the draft goes longer, and if there's value in either way, you can just take the value pick and try to get as much talent on your team as possible and flip, McShannock to either side to try to make your overall core team that much better.
Yeah, I mean that don't get me wrong, that's a possibility. I just don't. I like him as a forward. I like him as a forward. Excuse me. I like him as a defenseman better than a forward, even though he does possess the puck and move in the neutral zone. Because you can do the same thing as a defenseman. As a defenseman, if you get enough speed from your own end, you can do the same exact thing. You can skate the puck up the ice, and he likes doing that. You just got to play him with other people that are also defensively responsible. So I don't know. I'd say probably 5th round, late 5th.
Yeah.
If you get him in the 6th, I'd say steal, because he's not going to go early 7th. He's not going to go late 3rd.
No way 7th. It's always hard to judge people as of right now without having a list in front of you, because we are adding a new team where it's like, oh, last year with the 6 teams that we're kind of used to, it's like, oh, yeah, he's a 4th rounder. Now it's like we bring in guys. Is the talent level that much better? Do people either go back or forward? It's a little bit different ranking. So I
think he's one of those guys that are going to go back, just because, like you said, when we're sitting here, hemming and hawing, is he going to play forward? Is he going to play defense? The only notable thing that's kind of not elite, it's not elite or elite for Monday Night Light, I should say, about his skill set is he doesn't have that hockey brain.
Say it's his decision making.
Yeah, it's decision making. He doesn't have that hockey. He doesn't have that hockey brain where it's like, I gotta 1-2. I'm gonna make that triangle with the center and the left wing go boom boom boom, or I'm not gonna make that triangle with the right D in the center, or I'm gonna make that perfect outlet pass. Sometimes he may wait a second or two, and I feel people that are gonna hem and haw, they're not gonna know where to take him, and then he's gonna drop a little bit lower. And that's just a great steal for somebody else. Now, if he gets drafted in the 5th round, I could totally see that. I could see it even late 4th, depending on how your team makeup looks. But it might be a little bit of a reach, depending on who you have coming in the league. But honestly, likely 5th. If you get him in early 6th, it's a steal. Late 4th, he's gonna have to. You have to have multiple picks in the 4th.
Next on the list, new GM, Mr. Jeff Skillman.
So I'm gonna throw a personal anecdote in here. I'm a little salty because I wanted to be a GM, and then Mr. Skillman and Ryan Allen apparently signed up or responded to some email, and Panny gave me some bullshit excuse where he's like, you're not allowed to be a GM because you didn't respond to my email. I'm like, but I told you when I was in the Djibouti Federal League, and then so I cried many salty tears, and then everyone cackled at me. Point being, Jeff
To be
Skillman,
fair,
Jeff Skillman.
I know there was a lot of people. There was probably around 10 people who were interested in being a GM. I was interested in it as well. So I think there's a lot of factors involved in there. So I think
experience as a GM. First off, for I GM my A team or B team, depending on the time of year it is when I play at Mount Clemens. Secondly, Panny's just afraid to lose to the Stars of McDavid again, which is my fantasy team. I got two championships, 2 years in a row underneath my belt, both from Djibouti, mind you. And it's like an 8-hour difference.
I'm saying is
so he was scared of my GM ship. But honestly, if you're gonna pick 2 other people in the league, I couldn't be happier for Jeff. I couldn't be happier for Ryan, because those 2 guys are a bunch of beauties. And Jeff as a player and as a hockey mind, from what I've seen, is stalwart. Yeah, he's great.
Super quick, is I don't think that anybody could say, I deserve it over this person or I deserve it over that person type of thing. It's just there was choices that had to be made. I think we all think that they're pretty good ones,
no.
and
No, I definitely do. Panty's butthole's puckering up. He didn't want to face this GM in the draft.
Anyways, back to Skillman. You know,
I'm just gassing myself up. I'm gonna stop dragging. Panty. It's not really even dragging him anyway.
Skillman.
But yes,
he's a pain in the ass to play against.
Yeah,
That's the biggest thing that everybody says is when you're playing against him, it's a pain in the ass, and you don't want to play against him. So that's probably the highest compliment you can pay a player.
Yeah, Skillman. He's from like I said, like hockey mind. Like he knows the game well. We've talked about strategy and things like that before in Americans in the locker room, and he knows like, oh yeah, I'll go do this, I'll do this, or oh, I'm gonna be the second line center. Okay, when so and so's on the ice, I'm gonna match up with him on the ice and be that like Chris Draper kind of type. Just always on your back, kind of like whether it's like forechecking or like back checking. May not be the fastest guy, but the combination of his smarts, I guess, in the game and like knowing his spatial awareness on the ice, combined with his skill set of being able to stick in with the puck, he can skate pretty well. His body size, he's famous for getting tips in front of the net. He's kind of like a complete player. I guess if you equate it well, like his Chell stats, like I don't know if his Chell stats are probably like in the 80s or something like that. I mean, he's not going to be your first or second rounder, third rounder, but he's what, fourth overall anyways in the GM spot for his team, fourth round pick, right?
Something like that. Like I think Skillman's one of those guys. Like he said, he has good size. I don't think he does anything like phenomenal.
Exactly.
But he doesn't do anything bad either.
Exactly.
So he's kind of like that complete all around player that you just like on your team in those mid rounds.
Yeah, I think he's wearing those white Nike skates. That's why he gets the extra speed boost like NHL Hits.
And as we're talking about the Tigers, I think the Tigers are going to be an interesting team going into this year because a lot of times you kind of want that hype man on your GM and you want the brains, as well. I mean, it doesn't mean that they can't be both, but with the Tigers, I don't know who's going to be their hype guy, who's going to be like the rah, rah, rah type guy. Ryan Allen tries to think he is, but it always comes across as not real to me. So maybe it's going to be Skillman. I don't know.
I've never seen either one of those guys be hype, man. They're both kind of. Oh, I feel like Ryan's kind of more quiet, more introspective. Kind of like looks into things sometimes, but he'll come to you like pre-game or after game, stuff like, hey, yeah, why don't we try this, or hey, what's going on, dude? He's not gonna be like the Peso speech where he's pounded fucking 12 buds and he's like, all right, boys, we're only down by 2 between the second and the third. We gotta get 2 now. It's like, Peso, did you just say this after the first when we were down by 2? It's like, shut up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't consider myself really to be a hype guy. I think even with the spring, like that's the thing. Or if I ever was a GM, I'd want kind of that hype, rah rah outside, the face of the franchise type thing. I'm more of the sit back, relax, and be the brains of the operation. But speaking of someone who probably thinks they're both when it comes to that, our next guy on the list would be Mr. Jeremy Drager, panty dropper himself.
Ooh, panty copter, the one and only Drager and assistant. What, assistant or co? That's co, isn't it? Now, I mean, it's not assistant anymore. It's co-commissioner of the league with Troy and.
Does it really matter?
The secretary, if we'd say. Anyways, yeah, I love Drager. Everyone loves me some Drager. Is he 9th round this year? Or is he 8th round? He's 9th round, right? Slotted in for the Deeks.
It has to be because I think Todd and all of them are. But as you're looking that up, I think Drager, he's pretty smart when it comes to hockey, kind of what to do, what to not do. He's not the best athlete, obviously.
8th round, top of the 8th.
Okay, he's not the best athlete in the world, but he tries. He's got that hustle going in there. Another thing is pros. He's all MNL. He likes to help people out, give them tips. Cons. He doesn't like to take coaching if you tell him where he's done anything wrong or where areas he approves. I usually have saw that he just blows it off and ignores it. He also has, let's say, I don't know if it's a Napoleon complex, an ego complex.
Ooh, hit him with it.
I've told him this before, so it's not a surprise, but if you ever watch it, like at the end of the game or during a penalty kill, he won't come off the ice where he thinks he's that level to be he's not a Trent. He's not a guy that has to be out there during crunch time. Not saying he's not solid where you draft him defensively, but he's got that complex where he thinks he should be on the ice, and then if something bad happens, if you gave him shade, he wouldn't take it well, but he would give you shade if it was the opposite way.
Occasionally I can see that sometimes. It's not necessarily shade, but like if you're like, hey Panny, what happened on XYZ scenario, or hey Panny, like maybe you should try this. He might agree, but he may like offer like a different solution. Like be like, oh well, no, the reason why I stayed on the ice was because Lapudre was in the penalty box and we only had 3D, right? So he kind of I don't want to say he deflects the situation, but he'll like maybe he'll change like on the ice or post ice. Overall though, I don't know. Skill wise, Panny I feel is great. 8th round, like that's like a perfect fit for him. If it was any later as 9th, I was about to be like that's a steal because low key, Panny's one of those defensemen that like everyone talks about Panny all the time. Like, oh, he's got the Panny copter. He does X, Y, and Z. He may not be able to shoot from the point as much as you think you can. The Panny bomb is not a thing. I love you. I love you for it.
On Wednesday, we fed him like 3 or 4 times. He whiffed on all of them. His shot has gotten better in the last year, but
I wish he would just
it was horrible on Wednesday.
I wish he would just take wrist shots. I wish we could just like go to a drop in and be like, Panny, you just shoot wrist shots instead. Because like if he puts the puck on net for other people to get the rebounds or like the deflect, it'd be better than like the Panny bomb. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked from it. So he may not have like the best shot from the point, but overall as a defenseman in like that 8th round, I don't think you're drafting anyone else better as a defensive like player in the 8th round as a defensive defenseman. No one else is as a good a defensive defenseman as he is. I love him Panny's in front of me. When I'm playing net, like he's like, oh, it's Proctor. I can't take the puck away, so I'm gonna make sure he either goes outside or shoots from top of the circle. That's as a goalie, that's what I want. I don't want someone to be like, well, I'm just gonna keep backing up until I hit 2 feet out of the top of the crease, and then the guy's gonna walk in from the hash marks and rip something top titty on me. I'm like, that doesn't do me any good because not only are you screening me so I can't see the puck, or not only are you changing the trajectory of like the puck angle, so I have to read if you might deflect it, if you might be in my way. You also letting the person just encroach in space and taking a shot from a high danger chance zone, with a high danger percentage chance, which that zone between the dots and the inner dots and all the way down to like the bottom red line. That's like your zone 1. That's like where people score like 90% of the goals in the AHL and a lot of other leagues. Point being, if you let someone walk into that little area, that hot spot, if you will, like they have a good chance of scoring. And Panny knows one thing, and there's like more than anything, is he doesn't let anyone get there. He knows like I'm not gonna let that guy get there. I know what my talents are. I know who I'm going against, and he recognizes that. So in game smarts, great. Ability for like his pick, I feel is great. He may not be able to shoot, but defensively, he's always responsible. He always keeps mind of where this person needs to go. And then lastly, I guess the only detriment you could throw on Panny, really, I feel, is when it comes to like the GMing of the Deeks, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this or that. I feel like he feels like he's like Hot Wheels, but he's more like Matchbox. Like I feel like he feels he's better than he is.
Definitely thinks he's the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, I definitely think when it comes to GMing, he like between him and Troy, I don't know whose head would be a little bit bigger. I think Troy's head would be bigger, but by the same notion, Panny is pretty high himself as a GM, which is fine. I mean, he just came off a keg when he deserves to be that high, but at the same time, I've also seen some moves in our fantasy hockey league and other leagues inside Monday Night Lights. I'm like, Panny, my guy, what are you doing?
Most years after his drafts, I've liked his teams, to be fair. So
yeah,
it's hard, like 2 years ago when his team was awful, for me to say, oh, he's an idiot, because when I look at it, I was always like, oh, those are pretty good teams. Also, I think when I said I'd throw shade part, those were bad words, but like I said, he looks at them as coachable moments, but he's him and Troy are both the same way. They are very uncoachable when they love to coach people, is my history with them.
Honestly, I would say the same exact. I would say kind of the similar thing where they're both kind of like, if you throw out something like some sort of advice or coachable moment, like, hey, like I feel like maybe you could do this better. They'd be like, well, I tried, or I could do this instead, or man, thank you, but no thanks. Kind of. I kind of put myself in the same boat when I was like, maybe depending on who's talking to me or what they're talking about per se. But I don't know if that's like a complex, like a not inferiority, but like I said, Napoleonic complex or whatever it is. Sometimes you just don't really think about it. It's just some sort of like unconscious thing, like, oh, my bad. And maybe that's just how some people are, where someone gives you advice and then you like bouncing ideas back and forth. Like, give me some coaching, and then I'll try to improve it. I'll give you some other ideas or alternatives, or maybe why I didn't do that, and then it's just a discussion. Some people like to do that now. Some people like to do that dialogue. I think Panny and Troy are kind of like that. In regards to Panny, like I said, I feel overall player value great, GM value. He thinks he's 5 stars. He's like 4.5.
Yeah. Last thing is, you're talking about where he got drafted, best guy. I think we have a lot of good guys that are going to be around that 8th pick. He might be the best. He might not. But It also kind of depends on where people are going. I have a hard time saying someone like a Joey Brennan isn't better than a Panty. I don't know. Maybe Joey Brennan's slightly higher in the 7th, but
I think he gets drafted in the 7th. Yeah,
and those so I think Panty's right in that area where there's a bunch of high quality late bender defensemen. It's hard for me to say he's not the best, but it's hard for me to say he's the best.
The only person I could think of that you'd put behind Panty, like possibly, would be like a Shepherd, but he can also plays forward sometimes. So I can't.
Well, I guess I'm looking at it is you have people like, Brennan, Panty, me, like a bunch of guys in those zones that I think we're all pretty darn close.
Yeah, I feel like all you guys are gonna go I feel like you and Brennan. No offense to Panty, I feel like you and Brennan are a step up on Panty, and you guys aren't gonna go in the 8th. You guys are gonna go in the 7th round. That's just me. And my mock draft, that's just me. Anyways, point being, sorry.
Yeah. I'll be working on finalizing my rankings for our mock draft on Tuesday, so we'll get a better idea when that falls. But the next guy on the list, someone I've played with for the last year, Mr. Jim Ellis.
Jumping Jim. Let me tell you, Jim Ellis is a stud when it comes to accepting outlet passes. I was playing when we were playing Troy for that Memorial Day skate. I must have had like 3 or 4 passes as a defenseman. Like, I'm gassed. I'm like one of 3 defensemen. I look up and I'm like, I need a savior, and then I need a hero. And all of a sudden, Joe right there at the left point, the blue line, stick down, ready to accept the pass. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. I mean, Jim. Joe's the brother. I'm like, thanks, Jim. Just fucking throw it right up to Jim. Jim catches it. 1-2's a Nick Meyer out of the zone. I'm like, wow, man, we're like a real team, and we're a bunch of scrub like 8th rounders and below here. Let's kill it. I like me some Jim Ellis. I think. What do you think? What round do you think he's going to go in, though? I mean, overall, it's a skill set. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything great. Obviously, he's going to go probably 9th or 10th round, probably likely. But as a player, I mean, he skates better than some of the 10th rounders. He stick handles better than some of the 10th rounders. Like he does certain facets of his game. It's kind of like it's like Skillman, but like late round Skillman in a sense, where he doesn't do anything great in the late rounds as a great late round player, like Bussa that scores a bunch of goals but can't skate. He doesn't do anything like great, but he doesn't do anything poorly either as a late rounder.
Yeah, Jim. Another thing with him is I feel like he has room to grow. He looks like he's got that. He looks like he could be fairly athletic. Mm-hmm. He doesn't look super athletic on the ice, but as a new hockey player, sometimes that goes. I feel like he's a player that does have room to grow compared to, say, like a Mackey, who they don't have that athletic body that looks like they're going to be fleet on their feet or anything like that. I think my biggest thing I'd like to see out of Jim is I think he's scared to go into the boards as of right now to try to fight for a puck or get to a puck. I am not perfect. I'm pretty good at stopping on my left foot. I can't stop on my right foot to give me credit, but there's times I'm going to those corners, I just ram into the boards where he goes, you see him gingerly slow down and will lose a puck going in there. Where I like to see him work on, firing into those corners and either stopping or even possibly hitting those boards, because I think he loses a lot of those one-on-one puck battles because of his tendency, or, he's not, he's just.
So what, just a little bit more compete level in like the corners or something, maybe
bring that
for a late
intensity
rounder?
up.
Okay.
Like I said, just kind of like on those battles, kind of see that fire there, try to win it. Like I said, I think and I totally get it, because there's times I've went to the boards where you're like cutting and all that. You don't want to fall. You don't want to do this. Just don't care. Fight for that puck and go for it and just fly into those corners, beat those guys. Because there's a lot of times, too, where you see it and you're like, oh, he's got the angle. He's got the distance. He should be getting there. And you just don't see that.
Would you say he's going for speed?
I'd like to see him go for speed.
Distance.
He's all alone.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
But, yeah, you just don't see him win those pucks you feel like he should win sometimes. And I think that would be a giant area where he can improve. There's times where he'll get the puck. His shot actually will look good. Like, he'll bang it off the post a bunch of times, super close on there. And I think a lot of things with those 10th rounders, you want to see that, like a Hal has kind of mastered. Even Charles has gotten better, and Justin at is get your ass in front of that net, screen that goalie, and look for those pucks to come out that you can get those easy garbage goals with.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, if we're looking at upsides, like you said, he has room to grow, possibly. I mean, he's hasn't been playing puck that long. And he also, another upside, like you said, is he doesn't do anything poorly. Doesn't do anything great for a late rounder, but doesn't do anything poorly in those last 2 rounds. Downsides, then, is just maybe a little more intensity, like you said. More intensity might help, but, yeah. So, overall, I like Jumpin' Jim. There's a reason why I got that name. He's always jumping in and getting those goals.
Yeah, I think the last guy we'll cover before we take a quick little break, would be Mr. Jim Weaver.
Weaver, you want to take it away with Weaver? I haven't seen Weaver play in over a year or so.
Weaver's an interesting guy because I think you'll see him play forward, you'll see him play defense. So he's one of those nice guys. He's probably, I'm thinking anywhere between 7 and 8 is a pick where he's got that flexibility, which is nice. I think in the spring he was playing more forward, which was kind of nice to see. He looks decent there. He's a bender, but he's got some solid skills. I think he's a little bit older than me, probably like 5 years or so. So his speed has kind of went down through the years, but his skills are probably better than a lot of other benders.
Actually, I strike that from the record. I have seen Weaver play because he was on the Frontenac squad when we beat them in the spring championship.
Ooh.
That's like the 4th time I mentioned that today, and Troy isn't here. That's not purposeful. I just am like remembering people from spring. But shout out to that. Eat your heart out, Troy. Anyways, what I was saying, what we were saying about Weaver a moment ago. Like you said, he's maybe lost that step, but I mean he coaches, right? So he has that. He has a brain. Every time he has the puck when he comes into the zone, I know as a goalie when I'm standing back in the crease, he doesn't make a bad play. He's never like, oh, I'm gonna just turn the puck over at the blue line trying to do like between the legs walk somebody or like toe drag somebody. He always makes like a safe play, controls the puck, gives it to somebody else that it's an open space or puts it in an open space where someone can come onto it. And defensively, I'm not a huge fan of him defensively. From a couple games I've seen him and Troy together on the Frontenac, so I was kind of like just because he doesn't have that speed to kind of like quick turn. And he's not hyper aggressive or aggressive. Maybe it's like someone like you or Brennan or maybe like Pandy can be sometimes in those late rounds. But he's a smart defenseman like in the late rounds when he does play. I mean, when he has a puck on a stick, he's not just going to turn it over, throw up the middle of somebody. So I mean, he can play defense like you mentioned.
Right. That's where like you said, he's not as fast or whatever, but he makes smarter plays than some of us other benders go. So that's really nice to have. I think I'm in agreement with you where I kind of like him better as a wing, but it is nice to have that flexibility, especially like sometimes it's like, okay, we want Weaver possibly as a forward or a wing for the season, but maybe, player A is out this game and we need to bring in a sub. Maybe you can get more value depending on who's eligible to sub to move Weaver back and get that extra wing in there to get you that offense or something. It's nice just to have that flexibility.
Yeah, and that flexibility, I think I mentioned a couple podcasts ago, there's not a ton of flexibility in late rounds. Like after that 7th round, there's maybe 4 players that can play forward defense combination. He's one of those 4 guys. So I agree with you. Maybe it's a guy you want to look for depending on how your team makeup is.
Yeah, it sounds like Ty's really high on him, thinks he can be a wing on a good line, good hands and shots. He can rack up the points on a good line. And
yeah,
apparently he never had a step, so he didn't lose that first step. He just didn't have it. That's not me. That's Ty. Obviously, we know how good he is at judging players, so I'm going to believe that he had a first step back in the day.
Yeah, he could have. You never know. I mean, everyone was 21 once, right?
So looks like we're a little over an hour in, probably hour 5 or so. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break, stop this one, have a couple ones. I'm going to get some more coffee real quick.
Spike it a little bit more. What are you even drinking in there? Is that a Wood Reserve? Is that a little rum? A little Sarah Jerry maybe?
It doesn't matter what I put in my coffee.
I'm not sure if that's like... Is that creepy or is that safe? Is that I don't even know how to respond to that.
It's just homemade cold brew coffee. So
is that why it's in a blue glass to hide the color? No, I'm just joking.
It doesn't matter. As long as I can talk, that's all that matters now.
Big facts. Yeah, as long as I slur my words only a lot, I'll be okay.
But so we're gonna get out of here for a second. If you're watching the live stream, we'll be back shortly. But if not, we'll talk